So, welcome back to the OnRepeat podcast. Today we've got someone who's been in the electronic music scene for more than 20 years. He started out at Antwerp is Burning without even knowing what a stage manager really does. And from there, he grew into one of the most trusted names in the industry. He's been part of Tomorrowland since the early days, toured the world with Dimitri Vegas and Like Mike, Yves and Netsky's Live. And he's managed shows on every scale, from sweaty clubs to stadiums like the Stade de France, to Formula One weekends in Saudi Arabia and Belgium. And on top of that, he co-founded BeatSwitch, the platform that changed how festivals plan and advance their shows. And today he's still right in the action, working with Charlotte de Witte and handling more than 60 events a year across the world. We're really excited to hear his stories and dig into what it actually takes to make the biggest shows on earth running smoothly. Please welcome Bjorn Ielegems.
Thank you. It almost sounds professional the way you introduce.
Yeah, the only professional part is the intro and the outro.
Yeah,
the rest
okay.
is
Cool.
the rest is chill. No worries.
So yeah, for people who don't know you, how would you describe your job in the music industry?
It has two sides. First of all, I take care of everything artist related for events. So it depends on which event, how far it goes. Ideally, they book an artist, so they say, hello, Mr. David Guetta, you can play with us at this day, at this time for this fee. They sign the contract and then they pass it on to me, and I take care of everything else in the preparation already. So, who is coming? How are you coming? What do you need technically? What do you need for hospitality or rider, etc. Make sure that they are happy. Make sure that they behave. It's sometimes a thin line between those two. And then also on a lot of events, actually the stage management. And what is stage management? It's you are responsible for the stage and the area in front of it, meaning you make sure that the timings run smooth, so that every artist is there, knows what to do, has everything, that there's no gaps in the show. And on the other side also, and that's an aspect a lot of people forget, it's also overall safety on the stage, but also in front of it. If you see stuff that's not okay or whatsoever, be sure and make sure to be in touch with production, with security or whatsoever. Yeah.
Wow, so it's a lot.
It's a lot, but it's not rocket science. And it's a lot you learn through experience, but in the end, it's like a lot of jobs in events. It's not rocket science. You need to be able to see work. That's the main part.
To be aware of everything.
Exactly, and you learn over the years what you need to do when and where, etc.
So, how did you get into that world, into festivals and stuff? Who opens that door for you?
Interesting story. So when I was young, I was always in the Boy Scouts. In Niel. Niel is 3.5 kilometers from the Schorre in Boom. But somebody was in the Boy Scouts with Christophe van den Brande. He's now the creative director from Tomorrowland. I was in the Boy Scouts with him, and we were always helping back then at Antwerp is Burning, mostly with being stewards. Now, back then, I was also a ski teacher, and that was always happening in Easter holidays around that time, so I could never make it. Also, I still have a baby face. Imagine when I was 17, playing a steward around Sports Palace. It wouldn't have gone well. So at 1 year they organized Antwerp is Burning outdoor.
For people who don't know Antwerp is Burning, you want to explain
Antwerp is
quickly?
Burning outdoor, I think, was one of, as far as I can remember, aside from I Love Techno, also once did an outdoor edition back in the days. But it was a festival with multiple stages, I think 5 stages or something, on the left bank of Schelde in Antwerp.
Okay.
And I said, yes, I want to help, but preferably not a steward, because, I didn't see myself telling people, hey, you can't do this. So, and he said, we are looking for a stage manager. And I said, I've never seen a stage. I mean, I was in the Boy Scouts. I went to Boy Scouts parties, which mean 8 of those paralights flickering with an unknown DJ, and that's it. I'm playing Pump It Up, etc. So the typical Boy Scouts parties. And I said, you want a stage man? I said, no clue what it is, but I want to try it. And it was a stage from Metro Techno. Apparently, back then, Metro Techno was quite a famous techno party host in Antwerp. And they had Kenichi. I didn't know who Kenichi was. I don't know, most of you probably don't know him, but back then he was a proper legend, Japanese DJ. And I didn't know anything when he started playing with 4 decks simultaneously, LPs. I was like,
Wow.
And I also had back then Marco Bailey on my stage and Gail Sun, which was back then also a famous female DJ in techno. Yeah, and apparently it went well, and that's how everything started.
So it was like a friend that asked you to start, and then you just did it without knowing how to do it.
Yeah, and that's, I mean, still in general, that's the way I believe it mainly should be done. I'm not a big believer of the studies you can now do for event management, etc. I mean, it's all about hard work, seeing work, and being willing to work. And as long as you have that attitude...
No? Huh? Connections also?
No, in the beginning, no, it's not connections, because everybody is constantly looking for anyone. I mean, after that, it was the first year of Tomorrowland, and we went building the tents. I put all the fences up, the floors. We did everything.
Mm-hmm. And so you were there for the first edition of Tomorrowland?
Yeah, because then Antwerp is Burning Outdoor. They went into bankruptcy, and then the year after, that was the first edition of Tomorrowland. So, but yeah, every one of us, I still know a lot of people in Tomorrowland who are still there. I mean, the first Tomorrowland was 7,000 people. It was, not to say a Boy Scouts party, but it was a few tents in the Schorre. It was nothing compared to what it now was. Also, the electronic music market in general was not mature. It was very disorganized. It was just a bunch of friends doing stuff together. And that's still, I mean, if I need somebody on a festival, I love hiring 20-year-old guys to run the drinks between the stages or whatsoever. But you see very quickly, is it somebody who has potential, yes or no? And potential just means the correct attitude. Do they show up in time? Do they want to work? And that's the main attitude in events. Yeah.
Do you were like surprised already of Tomorrowland's organization since the first edition? Or you knew it would become a big festival in the future?
No, that I can't say. I mean, of course, it's cool that you are there and that you are working there also. And then the first year I took two friends with me to take care of other stages. And of course, you think it's cool that you work there, but again, electronic music industry was nothing. It was as good as non-existing. You had in Holland, it was existing with Sensation and Mysteryland, etc. But in Belgium, there was nothing to compare to. So you were also very unaware of what's happening. And of course, the first edition, we had a lot of rain. I can still remember that there were in the backstage the electricity boxes, the fuse boxes, were at some point floating in the water.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, it's normal on your first edition back then. And then, of course, the next year you see like, something's happening. And the year after, you're like, oh, what are they doing? Are they crazy?
You saw how bigger they went
and still
each
now,
year.
look, I still get goosebumps just thinking about every year when you arrive and you're like, what the... Yeah. Sorry for my language, but what the fuck did they come up with again now?
Yeah. We did a post not so long ago about like the evolution of the stages on the Instagram, and it's... For me also, it was nice to see like...
I think the first moment where I really was like, this is something unique and unbelievable was the one with I think it was 5 years, the one with the mask, where Moby was playing. And that was a moment where I stood behind the fence on my gator, watching the fireworks, hearing Moby play it, see the crowd, where I was like, what is happening here? And I think that was the first time I really realized, okay, this is becoming a serious business and not just a party anymore.
Insane.
What remained the same since the early years from Tomorrowland, and what has changed? Like, we know a lot has changed, but I'm sure there is something that still remains the same from the inside.
Once you are running the festival, you are all there for the same goal, and that's to make sure that the audience has a great time and that everything runs smooth. And you are all, whether it's the CEO or director this or blah, 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 it doesn't matter. Once you are on the ground and you do your job, you are all equal. Of course, there's a hierarchy in taking decisions, but it still feels on the ground like one big family and a group of friends, and that's on every festival. that's also the magic about festival. That's the only reason why you do 17-hour days for 3 days in a row, and you say, oh, let's do it again next year. I mean, not any sane person who is there for a paycheck does that. It's because of this family feeling and the friendships that go there.
You know the founders of Tomorrowland?
Yeah, of course, if you are there since year one. Also, they meant a lot for me. Both Christophe, especially Michiel as well, and Michiel Beers, he gave me a lot of opportunities. So looking back, I owe everything to them. And if they at some point didn't say, Bjorn, you can do everything artists for us, including Sensation and Sensation Black, and what was it back then? And then signed Dimitri Vegas Like Mike, do you want to tour manage, blah, blah. I mean, all the opportunities that came along have originally began at Tomorrowland with those two people, of course.
Okay, well, interesting.
Let's go into your tour days. What exactly do you do as a tour manager?
It depends a lot on which artists and the construction around you are working for. The construction around, I mean the involvement of management and agency. But typically, a potential tour comes in, meaning we have those dates lined up. And then as a tour manager, you start working first on budgets. So how much would it cost to do the tour by plane? How much does it cost if we take a VJ with us, a light jockey, etc.? Is there a possibility that we do a part by tour bus? So that's another budget you have to put together. So first put potential budgets together, see that the routing works, yes or no, because sometimes they book you, for example, in Croatia and the next day in the Algarve in the south of Spain. Yeah. And you can make it, but if you have to play until 5 in the morning, take a flight at 7 to fly to Madrid, from Madrid to Berlin, and there Berlin again, then it's not human. So you have no sleep. So that's also something that plays along. Then how does it work with the visas? Because if you do a tour in South America or in Asia or whatsoever, you need visas. So also you need to look like, okay, I need to give my... Now it's way more e-visas, but back in the day, 10 years ago, there was a lot of actual stamps in your passport that you needed. Then you need to leave your passport for 2 weeks on the Brazilian embassy, then 3 weeks at the US embassy. So you also need to plan on which allocation of which passport to which embassy, etc. And then after everything has been approved and seems feasible, then you start getting in touch with the clubs or the festivals. And you make sure that they know how are you coming, what do you need ground transportation wise, what do you expect technically not only the DJ setup but also lights, video, etc. That all that is aligned, lasers, special effects. That's the preparation, and then you start traveling, and then actually on the ground it sounds easy because you only follow up that everything you have discussed up front is actually happening. Unfortunately, 90% of the cases, 95% of the cases, even technically stuff is not there, or you arrive at the airport and the driver is not there, or it's a snowstorm, your flight gets cancelled and you need to rebook your flights, etc. So to make it very easy, to sum it up, you make sure the artist only has to worry about his music and delivering the best possible performance that he can in that circumstance and in that setting, and a tour manager takes care of everything else.
And in all those things, this sounds super complicated. What's the hardest part?
The hardest part is getting everybody aligned, and strangely and sadly, you often work with people who don't understand what you are doing or why you are doing it, and that's already in the preparation phase. Communication is sometimes very hard. I mean, if you email someone, I'm trained in a way that if I get an email and I don't know the answer, I'll reply to you and I'll tell you, I don't know the answer. Let me check, and in 2 days, I'll get back to you, and I put a reminder in my schedule. I have to get back on it. Often you just don't get a reply. 1 week later, you send a reminder. Again, no reply. So it's sometimes communication is very hard. And then, if you arrive on the ground, often people are there with, in Dutch we say a long face. face. They clearly are not happy to be there. Everything you ask them is too much, and then I'm really, I don't understand why are you working there if you don't want to be there. So yeah, getting people aligned and understanding of what's happening, that's the hardest part, and why you ask things. Yeah.
So you were tour manager with Dimitri Vegas and Like Mike for
I think about 2-3 years.
Wow.
And then I did 2 or 3 years Netsky Live, which was more fun, as in Netsky Live was with a live band, and that taught me a lot. Of course, you were traveling with 12, 14 people, with instruments, with
Wow.
yeah, technically it's a lot more complicated, so more challenging. And with live bands, people often who are working on a stage often are more enthusiastic also technically, because technicians on the DJ stage are often like, yeah, it's a DJ, it's left, right, and a mic. While with a live band, the front of house engineer is like, oh yes, I get to mix a band. So they are way more willing to work with you.
When you toured with Dimitri Vegas and Like Mike, they were already big?
No, I started with them when they were well, back then. Yeah, I don't know how to position it, but they were definitely, they were definitely going places. I mean, it was not touring in Belgium. There was sometimes a gig in Belgium, but it was immediately USA, South America, Asia.
Ibiza.
Ibiza back then was sometimes one gig a summer, then 2 gigs a summer, and then the first season became happening.
What year was this, approximately?
We are now 2025. That must have been 2013, 14, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
So a bit more than 10 years.
Yeah.
All right.
Do you have a funny anecdote with Dimitri Vegas and Like Mike?
Touring is full of anecdotes, but also the magic of touring is what happens on tour stays on tour. So yeah.
Like one little story that you can share.
Yeah, no, but also with Dimitri Vegas Like Mike, I didn't always travel with them, because back then, so a contract of a DJ also mentions, for example, are the flights covered by the promoter, or does the DJ pays for the flights himself? And the number of flights is then also mentioned in the contract. And with Dimitri and Mike, back then they were struggling very hard to already get the 2 tickets for them covered by the promoter. And if they got a 3rd ticket, that was the moment we nowadays think it's normal that there's an after movie, and we even get bored from after movies and we don't watch it anymore. But back then it was a new concept. So if there was a 3rd ticket, often they would take a videographer with them to make a tour video. And I did the advancing and I did everything from home. So also when something was, and that was a hard learning school, because I was not very experienced at touring. And then it could happen that at 2 a.m. on a Sunday morning, I get a phone call because in a club in New York, something is wrong with the equipment. And then I needed to call the promoter to say like, hey, solve this thing. Wow. So I was not always with them. And the hardest part that I can still remember was the amount of flight cancellations and delays. I mean, we all know it from traveling. How often does a plane fly on time? But then if you have a connecting flight and you need to get to a gig and you have your delay on your first flight, you can't make your gig anymore. And that
this is something you cannot do.
Yeah, of course. But then you miss your income. Also, the fans are disappointed. The promoter is disappointed. So often it meant then at 1 o'clock in the night trying to book a private jet to still be able to make it.
Wow.
So yeah, I think, I mean that there's now that I'm telling this, there's an anecdote with Netsky Live. So when you fly with equipment, you also need to do customs, because if you fly to the US and you take all your music equipment with you, it's not European Union, so you have to declare it to customs when you bring it in, and you have to declare it again when you take it out. So we did the US tour. We first did the West Coast, and we ended up in San Francisco, and then from San Francisco we'd go into Canada, then do 3 gigs in Canada, and then do the East Coast, New York, etc. So we come to San Francisco airport in the morning. It's a Sunday. But San Francisco International Airport, I go 3 hours up front because I know I first have to go with the equipment to customs. They sometimes check the serial numbers, etc., and sign off the paperwork. So I go to the info desk and I say like, where is customs? And they say, customs. It's Sunday, sir. Customs is closed. And I'm like, what do you mean? San Francisco International Airport, never had it anywhere in the world saying customs is closed. Yeah, customs is closed. I said, yeah, but I need to declare my goods because otherwise in 1 week, if I import it again into the US and it hasn't been signed out, I can get in a lot of trouble. You have to pay a fine as well, but the fine, okay, that's maybe $500. That's not a problem. But I was just like, what can I expect if I show up again and it hasn't left the country? So we went downstairs to the arrival hall to when you arrive in the US or Asia or whatsoever, and they check your luggage.
Yeah.
So they looked for a customs agent, called the customs agent, and customs agent was like, oh, it's been 10 years since I've done this. But mostly they look at you and they say like, you look a little bit normal, so we'll sign off the paperwork and here you go. He started checking line by line by line all the serial numbers. And then he said like, when is your flight? And I said like, yeah, my boarding closes in 15 minutes. Yeah, I think I'm done, but it's been so long, I'm gonna ask a colleague to review it. So at the same time, I'm the tour manager, I'm downstairs, my crew is upstairs ready to fly, and my artists, so they are calling me, but you are with customs, so you can't pick up your phone. And basically they kept me waiting until boarding was closed, so I couldn't catch the flight anymore.
Wow.
So my crew had to go without instruments, without whatsoever. Yeah, and then...
the gig was on the same day.
The gig was on the same day, so when you arrive in Canada, then in Canada, of course, what did they do? They lost my luggage in San Francisco, so we lost the gig, and that's a story I will never forget because it's customs playing around with you, and it's a power game, and you lose $30,000 on a gig.
Wow.
While there's nothing you could have done more, and that's one of the stories that happen on the road, and why you need a tour manager with you.
And what was Netsky's reaction to this?
Yeah, I mean, he understood everything. It was clear. Also, when I arrived in Canada, I'm a very easygoing guy. But so in San Francisco, eventually they booked me another flight. I go to the gate, and if you show up at the gate where you go towards the plane, you can show your luggage tag, and then they can scan where your luggage is, and they say like, yeah, it's on the plane. So I was like, whew, okay, double checked, it's on the plane, and then I arrived in Canada. First do again immigration to get my work permit done. I go to the luggage belt and the luggage belt is empty. So I go to the desk and I say, where is my luggage? Oh, it's still in San Francisco. And that was also the point where they said like, sir, calm down or we're going to call police. Because I exploded. I mean, after a day like this, you have like, they are intentionally fucking me over. And when I arrived eventually in the club, there's a lot of emotions going on. And I'm not too ashamed to tell you that I just started crying when I came in the club and I saw the crew and Netsky, because it was an unbelievable day of getting fucked over. So
wow.
It was a big show. It was
in Vancouver it was a big nightclub, but every show is important, whether it's 1,000 or 10,000 or 100,000 people. Those people bought a ticket to see you, and the promoter booked you for that specific show. Of course, in the end, he did a DJ set, but it's not why you are booked. And it's not why you have 12 people crew on the ground.
Funny story.
So let's go back a little bit. When did you realize that it was getting serious and big enough to then start your own company?
I think whether it's in music industry or whether you are a carpenter or a plumber, I think it's the same for everyone. It's a very frightening moment. So, of course, the big advantage is I could do a lot as a side hustle. So at my full-time job, and in the evening I did emails, and in the weekends, etc. But at some point you notice that you are spending half your time of your work time actually on advancing and preparing all these shows. Yeah, and then if you are smart, luckily I was raised in a way that they'd say never just jump, it's very risky. So I went to talk to an accountant, and the accountant's like, yeah, I think it's the moment to do it. And and of course, I mean, I'm the oldest here, but on your age, jump. Once somebody says, yeah, I think it's a moment. Yeah, jump. What do you have to lose if it doesn't work after 2 years? Okay, yeah, maybe your bank account is empty, but yeah, at least you tried, and you don't have to regret not trying. So of course, as a tour manager as well, your investment is low. You need a cell phone, you need a laptop, and a car. But apart from that, I don't need expensive cameras or whatsoever. So the technical investment is quite low. So the risk that you take, of course, in Belgium, it's not easy with the taxes, etc., and social security you have to pay. But yeah, think not just
that flows a bit into a good question also. Like, what advice would you give to a young tour or somebody that wants to do what you do?
Yeah, just don't force yourself up. Just work, because most people in the industry are very allergic to. You sense it when somebody comes up to you. It's like, hey, can I work for you? And you're like, yes, I want to become this. Hold on.
Yeah.
Baby steps. You'll first do an easy job for me. As I said, on a festival, I often hire people first as a runner. A runner meaning they have to pick up drinks from the stock and bring it to the stage when a rider is needed or whatsoever. But on that first day, you can already notice, like, okay, this guy has potential, or this woman has potential, yes or no. And then take it from there. And if you meet the right person, you'll get the opportunities. But don't be too eager. Baby steps.
Makes sense. What's your favorite artist or festival you've worked at till now?
That's a very difficult one, just because it's so much. Well, in general, it's any professional Belgian festival is incredible. I mean, Belgium and Holland is internationally famous, but in a way that you can't even imagine. When a band like the Foo Fighters or whatsoever get to choose between a gig, headline gig, in a festival in the UK or at the same time Rock Werchter, every person from the bus driver until the artist will say, oh, let's go to Werchter, it's amazing. Because the level of professionalism that is established in Belgium and Holland is unseen. Also, I mean, Beyonce, U2, who was here lately in Antwerp, the ginger guy, Ed Sheeran. Yeah, I mean, all those shows run for a big part on Belgian technology and Belgian people. The stages are built in Belgium. The moving stages are built in Belgium. Front of house engineers are often from Belgium. So the level of expertise is, and that makes also working there unique, because on a lot of festivals where I don't know the people around me and where you feel the level of professionalism is not quite there, I spent a lot of time double checking on what I asked people, whether it's really done or whether it's done in a good way. And that's very tiring if you are doing 15-hour days and you constantly have to watch your back and see that everything that you ask people is really in place. In Belgium, you can just say, hello, can you please do this for me? And you don't have to look at it anymore, because it will be done to the highest standards. Also, language-wise, we are from Belgium. We think it's normal that we speak Dutch, English, most of us French, and then depending on who you are, maybe some German and a little bit of Spanish. We think it's normal, but it's such a power, because wherever we are in the world, we can express ourselves. If I work, recently I went to South America with Charlotte. Yeah, in South America, if you're even the main stage of Lollapalooza, you need to ask for a translator, because the crew just doesn't speak anything else than Spanish. So that also makes working in Belgium so easy for an artist as well. So yeah, I was saying the artist I loved working the most with, touring was Netsky Live. I mean, those 3 years were the best time of my life. Yeah, it really shapes a unique band if you travel with 14 people on a tour bus for 3 weeks non-stop. It becomes more than family. You have the highs, you have the lows. Yeah, you are in a tour bus together, so a very small space. So friendships for life are made there. So that was definitely the time of my life. Outside of that, the favorite artist to work with is a very hard question, because my job is not to be friends with an artist. And it's like when you go to a bar or any profession, you work with your colleagues, and with some colleagues, you get a connection and you really make friends with. Or when you go to a bar, you get to meet some people and you talk with them the entire night, while you ignore other people. You don't have a problem with them, but you just can't connect with everyone. So favorite artist to work with on stage that I don't really have, because it really depends on the crew. And also we can't forget, and that's something I want to really stress, artists are people as well. And people often tend to forget. They think an artist always needs to be in his best mood and happy. And at some point, yes, when he's on stage, he needs to be professional and deliver his show and act happy. But as soon as he walks off the stage, maybe he had some bad news from home, or he's just having a bad day, or he's feeling sick. Yeah, who am I to judge whether you are my favorite to work with, yes or no? So as a stage manager, I don't really have it. Yeah.
Was there ever like a show where before entering the doors you knew, okay, this would be a disaster?
Yeah, that happens quite often. Yeah, that happens quite often. You can notice up front from the emails that you're having with organization or with the artist or whatsoever. You can feel what's going to happen, and you often are like, maybe I'm exaggerating a little bit or whatsoever. It won't be that case, but every time, as soon as you feel it, it's going to be a shit show.
But like, what can it be?
The artist doesn't know what they are going to do. They ask for impossible stuff. You tell them like, look, this is not going to happen. They keep on pushing. Then in the end, you try to make it work. The artist arrives and they do something completely else. Often an artist is also not as organized as they should be. They can also be very creative and change the show last minute. But then you need to have a tour manager and an agent and a manager who says like, yeah, sorry, but we're not going to change the show anymore because the show has been set like this. But then a lot of people in the industry are also like, oh yes, I'm just going to say yes to my artist and say yes to everything. Yeah, if an artist is not managed, then... So yeah, it happens. And also on organizer side, sometimes I get in touch with technical suppliers where I'm like, who is this? I don't know them. And then you start exchanging emails with them to double check a little bit on the equipment they are bringing. And you already notice that they are not really aware of what they are doing. And then you also know that that's the moment where I'm not only a stage manager, but also half a technician because they don't deliver, etc. So yeah. And of course, let's be happy because otherwise I wouldn't have a job. If everybody would do exactly what's expected from them, there would be no need for a stage manager.
Yeah.
True.
Now you've not only done festivals and like clubs. You've also done stadiums, Stade de France, Formula 1 even.
Yeah.
How does that change the?
It's something very weird to notice. When this change starts happening, I will never forget when the phone call came in earlier this year, 2 weeks before for the Stade de France, where I'm like, I still consider myself as I'm still doing the same as 20 years ago, and in life in general, I really have the philosophy: don't take yourself so serious. Life is difficult enough. Don't take yourself so serious. But then suddenly people from France call you to ask whether you want to stage manage Stade de France, 80,000 people. That was really a moment. Yeah, I'll never forget. And then 1 week after, I got a phone call to do the main stage of Electric Castle. Electric Castle is the Pukkelpop of Romania, where I had like Justice, Queen of the Stone Age, Youngblood. And I was like, what's happening? Suddenly I'm playing in the big league, while I still think I'm a kid, loving what he does. And obviously, I try to implement some standards. Aside from this, I'm also an IT consultant, so I try to make procedures for everything, so I can brief people, and I like to have everything in Excel sheets, etc. So I try to, of course, bring a certain level of professionalism and a standard, but still I consider myself as doing a hobby. And then that starts happening, and especially then the Stade de France was for DJ Snake. Production was done by High Scream. High Scream is a production company. They do all the big electronic show designs. David Guetta, too many to name. They also
was Romain involved?
Yeah, Romain was there. So they also run High Ibiza, Universe, so all those clubs. So I was like, it was the first time I was really stressed in a very long time to go to a job. Although, yeah, it's a DJ on a stage, how difficult can it be? But of course, it's 80,000 people there. We had more fireworks than with the Olympic Games. So it was most of my job was making sure that the videographers and photographers weren't burned from all the pyrotechnics. But yeah, it's amazing that you get to do that, and it just made me very happy, and that was also the moment when I was like, Mom, I'm booked for the Stade de France.
Nice. What was your job like during the night?
Yeah, stage manager as well. So making sure that everything works technically, that everything stays clean, because it was a massive LED wall. I think it was 40 meters high, 20 meters wide, and it went underneath the DJ as well. So everything needed to stay clean as well. And then sadly, as on many events, is half of the time making sure that it's not full of video people, photo people taking pictures, etc. And then, of course, because of all the flames and pyrotechnics and fireworks.
What do you mean, like the crowd taking pictures?
No, really the professional ones, but they always want to be on stage. But then if you have one big LED wall and there are 5 people on the stage, it doesn't look good. Yeah. And you don't need 5 people to take the same shot. And at the same time, of course, safety, because of all the pyrotechnics. So a lot of the things there was watching that people were not too close to the pyrotechnics.
Did you meet Romain also?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. That's the cool thing when you work on productions like that. You actually get valued for your position. What do I mean? With a lot of smaller parties, a stage manager is somebody who you need to hire. And he's there to be friends with an artist, drink with an artist, and supply drinks to an artist, which is bullshit. While if you get to such a show, they know what a stage manager is supposed to do, what a stage manager is, and everybody around you knows as well what your job is. So you get valued, and of course, we don't have to lie about it. Yeah, you don't do this job for the money. You do it for the pat on the shoulder and saying well done, and you want to have appreciation, etc. So yeah.
What stood out, like when you spoke to Romain? Did you have a chance to speak about the universe or
No, because then I'm a fanboy, and also now in 2 weeks I'm gonna go to Universe. I want to see it, but I'm not gonna be there and be like, hey, Romain, what's it like? And I really like your clubs and what you were doing. Then I'm a fanboy. No, I'm a professional over there, and I'm focused on that show. So
Fair.
We have to wrap up soon, so we're gonna push a little bit through the questions. Wanted to ask a bit more about Charlotte de Witte. Like this is what you do today.
Well, with Charlotte, I've known Charlotte since she did her first DJ set on the main stage opening of Tomorrowland 10 years ago. And we have some mutual friends, and we pretty soon became friends before she was even considered a professional DJ. So we hang out a lot, had a lot of parties and drinks together. We became friends, and then she became more famous. And then at the same time, as she's working with a company for tour management, because I don't want to full-time tour anymore, because it's too demanding. Your artist decides your schedule. I spend 200 days a year in hotel rooms and catching flights. It's not good for social life. So I have other priorities now, but still my heart, after a while, it's like, I want to tour a little bit again. And then when they need replacement, or when they do a tour and the tour manager is there and they need somebody for production and stage management and backline, etc., then they take me along, because of course they know me, and it's easy for Charlotte because we are friends. So once or twice a year I go on a tour with her, and then the context events in Belgium and etc. there and in Holland, there I'm also the stage manager. So that I still do.
Like from your perspective, what makes her one of the biggest DJs in that genre?
She's genuine. She doesn't compromise. She's the same on video as in real life. She's foot on the ground. She's a control freak. She runs her business amazingly. She knows every detail because it's a serious team working for her. She has control over everything. Her social media, she reads all the social media. When you get a reply on the post, when you react on her, it's actually her reacting.
Oh, wow.
And she works insane. Yeah.
Like when you book her, so she also requires the whole team to fly in for
It
gigs?
depends which show, and it's always, as I said, it's part of the deal. So
Yeah.
if you do Lollapalooza main stage inside America, of course you get a certain fee, and of course a certain show is expected, and then the artist and management decides again, from this money I want to allocate this much to flying in a light jockey, a VJ, a backliner. So that's more like that's the difference between DJs and live bands as well. Live bands is mostly a landed deal, as they say, and with Charlotte it's often the same as well. So you just pay the fee and they take care of everything else. And that gives you the luxury that you can say like, okay, I want to deliver this show, I'm going to take these people with me.
So you've mentioned that you don't want to tour that much anymore, but you still do 60 shows a year.
Yeah.
How do you decide, okay, this I'm going to do and this I'm not going to? Like, what are you going to say yes to and what shows are you going to say no to?
Well, mostly over the years I evolved into just me, Bjorn. I evolved into a company where I gathered around people who I've worked with for 10 years or longer and I really believe in. And then often I say, okay, I send this person to this show. And that has more to do with music style, for example, because the new kids rave techno, as I call it, my mind really can't process that for 15 hours non-stop. I did it once and my brain was fried. Aside from that, also, of course, it's weird after a while, but you get older, and also I can notice the change of behavior in the crowd. In the beginning, when I started doing this, and I would tell to someone, even as a kid who was 20 years old, to this typical bodybuilder, and I said like, hey, you can't be in the DJ booth. They said like, okay, yes, sorry, sir, and they left. Nowadays, they ask, and who do you think you are? And I can be here, and they are drunk. And I even had it once that a girl, 24 years old, it was last year or 2 years ago, she just poured her beer over my head because I said she couldn't be in the DJ booth. I mean, I'm getting too old for that shit. So I want to be on a stage where I can be doing my job and not being busy as security for drunk people who shouldn't be on the stage in the first time. So that's how I mainly decide, and then also work-life balance. I mentioned before we started this recording that last year I worked from the 15th of May until the 15th of September, 7 on 7. I noticed by the end that I couldn't be happy anymore on the job because I was just too tired. And also after the 15th of September, I needed a full month to recover. And also, your social life. Summer was gone and I didn't see any friends. So now often I say like, okay, these are the shows I really can't say no to. But where I know that I'm confident that I can send a colleague to who preferably even already worked with the artists on the lineup, then I'll often say now, okay, I worked for 3 weekends, now I'll take 1 weekend off. Yeah, so that's the puzzle on how I decide. Yeah.
And what are those shows that you still really want to do yourself, if you know?
Yeah, it's especially live shows. I'm really transitioning more to live. Then the big DJ shows, of course, where I have the big international headliners, like Extrema Outdoor is one of them. But then also I love more and more the shows abroad, and that's also a strange thing. In Belgium, they say you can be happy that you can work for us, and when you fly abroad, it's like, oh, do you like your flight? Do you like your hotel? Thank you that you want to work for us, and that's a big difference for the. I guess it's an ego thing, but yeah.
Who's the biggest DJ you went to on stage, like as a stage manager?
Yeah, I did for 20 years. Everyone.
David Guetta,
Calvin Harris, Martin Garrix, everybody. Yeah.
And you saw also the evolution of the phones, like when you started.
Yes.
There was no phones.
There was no smartphone even, yes. Indeed.
And like slowly people starting to film every show.
Yeah, and I really still don't understand. I mean, when I go with Charlotte as a tourist, so now when I'm going to Ibiza, she has to play Universe. I don't have a real job over there. Yeah, I love the backstage and I hang there, but as soon as she goes on stage, I'm gonna go in the crowd, enjoy my drinks and enjoy the show. And and I'll take one photo or one short snap for my social media, and aside from that, lose the phone and enjoy the fucking moment. Does anyone actually who's there recording a show is afterwards like, oh, now I'm gonna watch the show again? Nobody does.
Yeah, it's for social media.
Yeah.
That's life.
Yeah.
Last thing, so just a funny question, not really, but it's like, what's the best food for crew in the world? Like, where's the place where it's like, the food is amazing there, I'm happy to go there?
Ooh. I think it's Japan.
Okay,
Yeah,
nice.
Japan. Everybody loves traveling to Japan just for the food. I mean, you can't, even if you think you had, I don't know if you know Izumi here, but it's the best sushi in Antwerp. Even it gets the closest as possible to Japan, but if you go to Japan and you go to a small sushi, you can't imagine what it's like. Yeah.
Okay, nice. Well, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you for
Thank
having
you.
me.
Let's do it again soon.
Yeah.
We have a lot of things we could still talk about.
Okay, cool.
So, thank you very much.
Perfect.
It was a pleasure to have you here, and we'll put your socials and your company here below so you can see it, and if you want to have Bjorn working for your festival, you can reach out to him directly.
Yeah, wonderful. Thank you.
We'll put all your stuff in the bio.
Yeah, perfect.
Thank you so
very
much.
much. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.